had you bet the Patriots to beat the Bills this past Sunday, you would have won $330 on top of your $100 bet. Yes, the money line would have got you $330 on top of your $100 bet. We picked it for you this past week. You got to watch this show, I'm telling you. We have a system here. We're bringing out all the best picks for you here. Now, we also picked the exact score on that game, 23-20. Patriots coming down the field on last-minute heroics by Drake May, the quarterback for the Patriots. They beat the unbeaten Bills 23-10. What a game. This is your Monday update here on the Play Action Sports Network. How are you guys doing out there? I'm Jack D, and if you check out next week's show, you can find that, which comes out on Friday, you can find that pick you're looking for. Believe me, you're going to want to check it out. We get 6 picks every week. We do this show every week on Friday. This is the Monday update. We got 2 games on tonight, Monday Night Football. I don't even know what games they are. Let's check it out. By the way, Trump just announced that he's sending 300 National Guard troops to Illinois. I'm guessing that would probably mean Chicago. Yeah, lots of goings on in the news. Speaking of Chicago, by the way, on this day, October 6th, Michael Jordan retired for the first time back in 1990. I think it was 3 or 4. I'm not sure. And then he went on to play baseball before coming back to the league. All right. Also on this day, by the way, October 6th, Babe Ruth made a record by hitting 3 home runs in the World Series. Unbelievable. 3 home runs. Freddie Freeman almost did that himself in this past year's World Series for the Dodgers. So let's see what's tonight's games for Monday Night Football. What do we got here? If you'll bear with me, thank you very much. Looks like we've got actually one game. We've got the Chiefs going into Jacksonville to face the Jaguars. I'm not going to pick this officially, so it won't count against the record, but I'm going to go ahead and say that Mahomes and the Chiefs are going to beat the Jaguars. I hope so. Mahomes is on my fantasy league team. Keeping up with this fantasy stuff, my God, I mean, half the players on my bench score more than like my whole team, my whole starting roster. But it's still fun. Shout outs to all my fantasy league compatriots, Danny, Brandon, Jaime, all you guys. Thank you for tuning in. And let's see what else we got going on. Yeah, well, today we've got the Dodgers and the Phillies. That's going to be a big game today. The Dodgers, of course, won their first game 1. Shohei Ohtani is just putting on a clinic, coming in as a pitcher for game 1 and just he's a phenom. I believe CNN was reporting that, we're witnessing history when it comes to Shohei Ohtani here. You got to really think back to people like Babe Ruth when you think to the caliber of player that he is. And as a matter of fact, that's the only person you can think of. Today, that's today at 3:08 p.m. here Pacific time. That's going to put it at 6:08 p.m. to you in the East. The Dodgers go to Philadelphia, and we've got the late game. Yes, the Cubs and the Brewers are working late. It's going to be about 8:08 p.m. there in Milwaukee. I got both of my picks wrong this past week as far as baseball is concerned, but I'm going to go ahead and just do an unofficial pick for you here. I think the Phillies are going to fight back. They're going to beat the Dodgers. I won't pick a score. It's not official anyway. I'll just say the Phillies are going to fight back, and they're going to, it's the city of fighters. Apollo Creed. I'm just kidding. I believe Joe Frazier was the real boxer that was from Philadelphia. I think. I'm not sure. Maybe he was from Detroit for all I know. The Cubs are going into Milwaukee to face the Brewers. I'm going to go ahead and say that the Brewers are going to win this game to take a 2-0 series lead. Yeah, that's today's games in baseball. And of course, your Monday night game tonight. Boy, Kansas City really needs to do something about the wide receiver position. Um, you know, they don't have anybody else to help out Mahomes. I think Tyreek Hill might come back from Miami. He might become a Kansas City Chief again. But they don't really have a lot of weapons out there. Other stories in the league. The Giants, they lost this past weekend. We'll see how Dart does. His continuing evolution as a rookie quarterback on a floundering team, on a sinking ship. I believe what's going to end up happening is that Dart will be there. The running back will still be there. I forget his name. I'll have to look it up. We can do that. Let me do that right now, as a matter of fact. If you've got a moment, let's look up the New York Giants. I think it was like Abarabudu or something like that. What the heck is his name? Sorry, bear with me. Thank you very much, guys. And by the way, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It really helps out the show. We're going to get a Patreon going pretty soon. Again, you're going to want to tune in when it comes to picks. And I'll tell you a little funny story to close it out when it comes to my pedigree in picking football games. Scattaboo. That's his name. Yeah, the running back from the Giants, Scattaboo, Jackson Dart. They're both going to remain there, but who knows how much more of the team is going to actually remain. Of course, Neighbors, the wide receiver, needs to get healthy again, but he's not going anywhere. He's a great wide receiver. The Jets they are in every way, shape, or form a losing proposition. They are the worst team in football by far. Let's see, who else is going in? I couldn't believe last week, not this past week, but the weekend before I think it was this last week when Green Bay and Dallas played to a 40-40 tie. I think it was the week before. Unbelievable. That was a very high-scoring game. We picked the exact score on that one for the Green Bay Packers as well, being 40 points. But this Patriots-Bills game is the first time we pick an exact score. Then again, we've only been doing this, 3 weeks? But when it comes to picking football scores, boy, I've got quite a longer resume than that. What else has been going on in the news? Mark Sanchez is in the news. Apparently he was arrested after an early morning altercation outside of a bar. Apparently he had suffered stab wounds. This is obviously a personal problem. That's all I've got to say about that. Of course, Mark Sanchez was famous at USC, backing up Matt Leinart, who is an announcer and an analyst nowadays. USC, there's college football. There's just something great about college football here in America. You got to learn how to appreciate. Friday, we'll talk more about college football. Of course, Mark Sanchez's story. WNBA, the finals continue. The Las Vegas Aces are up 2-0 against the Phoenix Mercury. Of course, the shooting guard for the Las Vegas Aces scored 32 in Game 2. Jackie Young. She's a really good player. Keep an eye on that. If it doesn't involve Caitlin Clark, I know you don't want to know, right? Well, baseball's divisional round, of course, today. Make sure you watch Dodgers and Phillies, Cubs, and Brewers tonight. I guess that's all, but we'll go ahead and end the show talking about my resume as a football odds maker. No, I'm just kidding. I pick games here in football. I've been doing it for a long time. My dad got me into it at a very young age. And he'd make these bets with me, and he taught me how to bet. you know. So I could tell right away that Pops was a little bit of a gambler. You know, and he'd gotten split up from my mom when I was a very young boy. For the first time, they'd gotten split up. And I found a letter recently, you know, when I was looking through my mom's stuff because, you know, she moved recently and I was looking through all her stuff. Saw her and I showed it to her. I said, "Hey, look, Mom, here's a letter from Dad that he wrote you when you guys were split up." And she was like, "Oh, look." And I read the letter, and then at the end he says, "P.S. Tell Johnny that I'm going to give him my picks before the end of the week for the football games." You know, I was touched by reading this old piece of family history. You know, not only had my dad had been separated from us, he'd been split up from my mom and undergoing all that strife and turmoil, but yet he found the time to think about his bookie, his 5-year-old bookie. You guys tune in this Friday, get that pick that you're looking for to make your week, and you guys enjoy the week. Tune in again, and we'll see what happens tonight. Hopefully the Dodgers and Phillies put on a good show for us.